Welcome, everyone, to this Hump Day edition of Sports Church presented by LeBears Casino and the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, which the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame auction is going on right now. Go to lasportshall.com to get involved with some great Joe Burrow auction items and other things. Joining me is Playboy Marty and Mr. New Orleans Saint, Joel Davis. And Playboy Marty, a late night for you per usual. NBA playoffs kept you up late, and finally, last night we had an NBA playoff game that looked like an NBA playoff game. It reminded me of like a 1993 Jordan game. 80-79, the Nuggets eliminate the Utah Jazz in an exciting Game 7.
Yeah, I'm having trouble seeing you over all these Donovan Mitchell bricks he was throwing up last night. Golly, that was beautiful to watch. Beautiful to watch to see him fail. It was a really weird game. I mean, to have an NBA game with the teams in the 70s, that just doesn't happen anymore. That game was just so tight, and no one was shooting well, and it was a giant outlier for the rest of the playoffs.
Joel, are you a guy who would – Mitchell had 22 points. Murray had 17 in a winning effort, and Nuggets won 3 straight in that series to eliminate Utah. This was a series where, these guys were averaging, 40, 50 points a game. Do you prefer a playoff game that's high scoring or low scoring?
You can always respect some defense, right? But I'm not sure how much of that was defense and how much that was Sphincter Titan moment. So, Game 7, everything on the line. Guys are scoring 50 points. Murray was just lighting it up. Mitchell was lighting it up. And then all of a sudden, when it mattered most, when everything is on the line, there's no tomorrow, Sphincter's tightened up, and they didn't play quite as well. So was it that, or was it defense? I think it's a combination of both. Game 7s, man, it's do or die, and things change, and things already change in the playoffs. But as far as what I would prefer, I just want good basketball, man. I want, look, if you're missing shots because they're being contested, that's one thing. If you're missing shots just because, you can't breathe because your neck is so tight, that's another.
The Celtics won yesterday. They go up 2-0 on Toronto. And I grew up a Boston Celtics fan, Larry Legend and Kevin McHale and Louisiana Sports Hall of Famer Robert Parrish. Those were my guys in the 80s, even into the 90s. Once I was kind of living in Phoenix, and the Phoenix got rolling with Chambers and Barkley and Marley and all these guys. Then I became a Suns fan. So I always get a little nostalgic when I see the Celtics doing well. And, boy, they looked really good the first 2 games. Had a big fourth quarter, Marty, yesterday, and they go up 2-0 in Toronto.
Yeah, no, there was a big swing in the game. They called this weird foul on Marcus Smart on a Pascal Siakam, breakaway layup. And then Toronto challenged it and reversed it. So they were up 11, and I think this is at the very end of the third quarter. And then Boston just explodes. Marcus Smart, I think, hits 5 threes in the fourth. I think he does something stupid nuts. Tatum was really good, and then when they're up 1 point with 30 seconds left, Cardiac Kemba just does it again. That little step back mid-range shot he hit, the same one he hit against. I'm blanking on who he hit it against in the Big East tournament, in the Big East championship game.
Yeah, in Connecticut.
It's the same shot that he just keeps shooting, and it was a fun game to watch.
We know, Joel, that you're an old school Dominique Wilkins Hawks fan, so that's your team from your childhood. But is there a hatred for the Celtics since you grew up a Hawks fan?
Not really. I'm just so out of the loop with the NBA and rivalries since because the Hawks were never good when I was young, so I never really paid attention to that. I just liked watching them, jump out of the gym and make great plays. They weren't winning, but they were just fun to watch because they had some star athletes on their team. So, but as far as the rivalry aspect of it, not really. I liked the Celtics when Bird was there. I liked the Celtics when they were, they were just mean and they punch in your throat to win. So, I remember the Celtics versus the Bulls, those rivalries, all those different things. I remember that more than I remember anything to do with Atlanta and the Celtics. So I think the Celtics, they got great uniforms. I love their uniforms. I love that Kelly Green.
Old school? Yeah.
I love the Kelly Green. Anything in Kelly Green, it's hard to dislike for me. Even when the Philadelphia Eagles had Kelly Green, I was like, yeah, I kind of like that. Even though I was a Cowboy fan, I loved it when they wear the Kelly Green shirts.
Yeah, these Celtics are the most I've ever liked the Celtics because I
The
hated
most you've ever liked or not liked?
It's the most I've ever liked the Celtics.
Gotcha.
But like again, just speaking of my basketball fandom, Bird wasn't good when I was smart enough to understand the game. So I'm basically saying I hated the Pierce Garnett.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan when Pierce and Garnett were there. I wasn't a big fan at all.
They act like they won 5 titles the way they talk about that run.
Yeah, they had a great year, but and that was Big Baby was a part of that. And where's Big Baby?
Where's he at these days?
I don't know. Wasn't mine.
Let me.
You know what's funny? Talking about Big Baby from that 06 LSU Final Four team that John Brady coached. If you'd have said 14 years later who's still in the NBA and Garrett Temple would have been your answer, you'd have lost everything.
Yep.
I mean, all the great talent on that team, and it's Garrett Temple's the last man standing.
Yeah. When I was a freshman at LSU, I saw Big Baby at Schlitz and Giggles, and he had a T-shirt on that said "freelance gynecologist."
Wow. That's great. You should have got a picture of
and
that.
You loved it. You took a selfie with him.
I think Ronnie had that shirt.
Yeah. Alvin Kamara, let's talk about him. It's expected he's going to be back at practice today, according to Ian Rappaport of ESPN. It looks like he and the Saints are going to work a deal out. It's not going to be McCaffrey money. He's come off that mantra. And so somewhere, but here's the thing. The bar may not be McCaffrey, but a report comes out that Joe Mixon inked the deal. He was a second-round draft pick in 2017 out of Oklahoma. He inked the deal for a 4 years, $48 million extension over in Cincinnati. It'll be Joe Burrow's running back up there. He had 1,100 yards rushing. If you look at Joe Mixon's career, Alvin Kamara's career, I think Joe Mixon's been more the feature back up there, where LSU, with the Saints have mixed in, Ingram, of course, and others. But Joe Mixon's getting a big extension. I would think Kamara's numbers are going to be pretty close to that.
Yeah, I think that it has to be in the 12 to 13 million range. I don't think he deserves the McCaffrey numbers. McCaffrey has proven to be an every down back, to stay healthy, to stay in the games, to be one of the best in the league. So, he can't get 16 million. He's not would you take McCaffrey? Would you take Kamara? To me, I'd take McCaffrey. That's the way I look at it. And, I just try to put
2 years ago. I'd have taken Kamara after the first year.
Well, but Kamara has been, off the field a lot. He's not on the field all the time. He's sharing time with other people. I've seen him try to run between the tackles and not have a lot of success. Whether it's injury or not, we've seen times where he tippy-toes in the backfield and he's not hitting the hole and he's not gaining yards. I've seen Kamara lose yardage. I've seen Kamara go, the distance. I've seen him catch a lot of balls out of the backfield. I've seen him make a lot of people look stupid. But at the end of the day, I want a guy that's going to be on the field. And if you're going to commit $16 million a year to someone, I want a McCaffrey. The guy's going to catch 100 passes. He's going to be a 2,000-yard back. That's who he is right now. That's worth $16 million. As many times as he touches the ball. Kamara's not that guy right now, but he is a $12 million guy, in my opinion. I would take him over Joe Mixon. I would. If you told me right now, you want Joe Mixon or you want Alvin Kamara?
Right.
First of all, Kamara doesn't have the baggage that comes along with Joe Mixon and the history that he had coming out of college, right? That means something to me as marketability. And I just think Kamara is a better back, an all-around back than a Joe Mixon. So give him the $12 million or $13 million and let's be done with it.
Playboy, I want to ask you your opinion on this. You got Kamara out there. Obviously they have a negotiation. He's been sitting out of camp for 4 days, but they're going to work it out. But it's strange to me, and I want to get your take. You've got a guy in Mixon who rushed for 1,100 yards last year. You got a guy in Kamara that was kind of in and out of the lineup last year with injuries. Had some good things, but also it was obvious he wasn't the same guy as he was the first 2 years. And then you got a guy over in Leonard Fournette who had a career year, 1,600 total yards, over 1,100 yards rushing, better numbers than Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon gets a 4-year, $48 million extension, and the Jaguars say they can't get a 7th-round pick for Leonard Fournette. What's going on?
It comes down to just teams are so different in their philosophies how they attack these things. Obviously when you put I'll attack Fournette like after this, but when you put Kamara and Joe Mixon next to each other, obviously you're thinking, well, Kamara's the more valuable player. Even given the injuries, this is how people get paid. But the Saints don't like paying running backs. When was the last time they gave a running back a big extension? Ingram, he wasn't as good as he was at the beginning of his career. He didn't get that monster extension like we're talking about here. So I think that's more the case there. And as far as Fournette goes, again, I think it's just player archetype, like the bulldozing running back that needs 25 carries up the middle a game, just really doesn't have a whole lot of value anymore. Whereas Mixon is versatile, he can catch passes. I think it's more that, and by all accounts, Fournette was not a very good locker room presence, but I give him the benefit of the doubt because he plays for that terrible of an organization. And when you have bad ownership, bad management, all that, it's hard to be a good, upstanding player.
Joel,
he's been considered a malcontent. Let's just say it what it is.
Yeah, but that whole team is trash.
Well, but you know what? I mean, the way you change that is you bring in people that are not malcontents, and instead of them gravitating towards the turds, they gravitate away from the turds, and they stay on the team. They become a cornerstone for your organization. They didn't see Leonard Fournette as to being a cornerstone of that organization because he gravitated towards the turds. So that's either maturity or leadership. I mean, in today's football, you have to have leadership in those locker rooms. These are grown-ass men making a lot of money, and you have to have top-notch players. The guys that are making the most amount of money have to be your leaders, man. So that way, these younger guys that are coming up and don't have the money yet can look at a guy that has the money as a leader. That's important. That's worth a lot of money. That's why they couldn't get a 6th or 7th round draft pick for the guy. I mean, nobody wants you. There's obviously some things that are out there that are discussed about him that people know about him at the NFL level that they don't like about him. And at this point, he's got to change some serious behavior stuff, because I think he's a damn good running back. And he needs to get the ball out of the backfield. He needs to get the ball in little wheel routes coming out of the back. He doesn't catch enough passes. If he was in the Saints organization,
he doesn't like doing it.
Get the hell out of my locker room. That's my point. I don't like doing that. Do you really want that on? But would you want that on your team if you're a general manager and you're running back?
No, but again, I'm not going to act like the Jaguars are a smart organization. Their owner is just gung ho on moving them to London. It literally feels like a major league situation. Honestly, to me, is what it feels like. He just wants them to be bad as hell so that he can move them to London.
I don't disagree with you at all that the Jacksonville Jaguars organization is not the greatest. But at the end of the day, I don't want anybody on my team that's not willing to do something for the team.
Joel,
if you're really good at catching balls out of the backfield,
passes last year. He caught 75 passes last year. So whether he wants to or not, he can catch the football.
Exactly. So he can do it. But I don't want to say, I don't want a guy to be pissed off because I'm getting you the ball in different levels of the field. I mean, that's awful. I mean, if you don't like it, keep your mouth shut and be a leader. Because that's what leaders do. You know what? Drew Brees doesn't like to get his head ripped off playing quarterback, but he does it.
I get that Fournette said some things and he's had some things, but to vilify him is shocking to me. There's tremendous value for a guy that can get you 1,600 all-purpose yards in the league and catch 75 passes. And the fact that they just literally discarded him, I would have worked up a deal and said, hey, you can't get you 16 million, can't get you 13, but we can get you 9 or 10. I mean, I think this is going to be I think Leonard Fournette's going to have a second act in the league, and it's going to be a good one. I really believe that.
I appreciate all that. You ever heard of the name Bo Callahan?
Yeah, I've heard of the name.
Marty, you know who Bo Callahan is?
Is that the character in Draft Day?
That's exactly who that is. Bo Callahan, the greatest prospect ever to come into the league. But what caused him to drop in the draft and go to Seattle rather than Cleveland?
I mean, that movie sucks.
No doubt. I agree with you.
I don't even remember that whole movie.
Did he have a sexual assault or something?
No,
did he have some off the field thing?
People didn't like him, and he was kind of a liar. He was kind of like he was always pointing the blame at someone else. So, but they had to figure that out.
Good.
Nobody.
My whole time watching that movie, I was just like, "This is the worst movie I've ever seen."
But that's realistic, though. As far as the player, the Bo Callahan part, that is a real thing.
You cannot say realistic and Draft Day in the same sentence.
Well, That part of the movie, the character flaw, Darius Geis, can I bring that name up? Nobody knew why he fell in the draft. Everybody's like, what is going on? What do they know that we don't know?
Yeah, but in draft day, he realized it like 2 hours before the draft, which is the thing that happens.
No, that was
By the way, the general manager for Seattle in that movie Draft Day was
he should be fired immediately.
Was the captain
Both of
in the second, I think it was the second Hunger Games movie. He was the bad guy that tied up Kat Everdeen in the court, was whipping her boyfriend when she came to his defense and ran in and got whipped or whatever. Anyway, he was one of the bad guys. He's one of the bad captains or whatever in the Hunger Games movie. Same guy that was in Draft Day.
Well, hey, the best part of that movie was, in my opinion, the best acting job was Chadwick Boseman, R.I.P.
Oh, that's true. I forgot he was in that movie.
Yeah, he was really good.
Big news yesterday out of the NFL.
Which character did he play? He played Mac?
Vontae Mac.
Oh, he was Mac?
Yeah.
I didn't even pick up on that. Oh, wow.
That's funny because Vontae Mac, like in the movie, he seemed like he was this big athletic guy, and of course we know Bozeman's not,
right.
Little bit of guy. All right, so yesterday in the NFL, one of the more exciting days every year is when the Super Bowl champion team gets their Super Bowl ring, and of course these rings get bigger and gaudier. I mean, like you could see the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl ring from the moon. These things were so
like this.
Yeah, it looks like your phone, right? Yeah, it looks like Joel's phone on his hand. But Andy Reid, he talked about how hey, he can, if you want, he doesn't wear his rings very much, but if you want to wear your ring, you can get a free cheeseburger. He talked about how you can go to a restaurant. And he said, hey, I'd like one of those, and you just kind of point at the board, and you get your Super Bowl ring, and it'll get you a free cheeseburger. But of course, everybody was focused on Patrick Mahomes getting his Super Bowl ring. They did the social distancing ceremony inside Arrowhead Stadium and everything. It was really cool. But that wasn't the biggest news of the day for Patrick Mahomes. He announced his engagement, and we just so happened, Marty, and I know you're so excited. We just so happens we've got Patrick Mahomes with us. Joining us here on the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame hotline on Sports Shorts Daily, all the way from Kansas City. It was a big night. I don't know if it was as much of a party night as Marty's, but Patrick Mahomes celebrating the ring and the engagement. Thanks for joining us, Patrick.
Oh, my pleasure. The good thing about getting a ring is that means you won something, right? It means you won something and you done good. And we're super excited over here in Kansas City to have won a Super Bowl for the people of Kansas City, and of course me. And if I hadn't have played like a giant turd in the first 3 quarters, it wouldn't have been as close as it was, right? But anyway, I did what I had to do at the end to win the game. But look, we are champions, and since I got a ring, I figured it was time to give the girl a ring. Brittany Lynn is going to be my wife. And I gave her a ring yesterday. And, I am scared to death of her, Ron. And that is why. That is why I did it. Is she scares the living shit out of me.
So, Patrick, just to clarify, you actually got engaged. I mean, we're talking about Super Bowl champion Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
you got engaged because you're scared of Brittany Lynn.
Yeah, I can't get rid of her. She will not leave me alone. She calls me like 75 times a day. She has threatened me, Ron. She has threatened me, and she said, if you do not marry me as soon as possible, then I am going to murder you. And I took that literally. She might be full of shit, and she may not really believe that. But I do, and that's all that matters. I am scared to death of Brittany Lynn.
Marty, any questions for Mahomes, especially with Clyde Edwards being there?
What are you most looking forward to this next season?
Being alive, that's a good one. Because if I hadn't put the ring on her finger, I would be dead, and that's what she kind of told me. So being alive is really, really important to me. But on a serious note, what I'm really looking for, what's that? I'm sorry, am I interrupting you?
No, please, go ahead.
Okay, so what I'm really looking forward to, besides being alive and not dead by the hands of Brittany Lynn, is a chance to win another Super Bowl. in front of 0 fans, because I don't need fans. I don't need them at all. If I needed fans, I wouldn't marry Brittany Lynn, because they all think I'm an idiot.
Patrick, thank you so much, man. We got to let you go. We're running out of time.
By the way, hey, look, I always like being on the Sports Shorts, Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame show. It's one of my favorite podcasts. Is that what this is? It's a podcast?
Something like that.
Okay. Where can I tell people to watch this? Do people actually see this? How many views will people actually get by tuning into this turd?
It's probably not going to help your Instagram numbers, but people can go to Sports Shorts on Facebook. They can like the page, or they can go to YouTube, type in Sports Shorts hosted by Ronnie Rance, subscribe, and you'll get it every day. Thanks to Marty.
Well, the whole reason why I don't mind coming on this show and venting, because that's what I'm doing about the Brittany Lynn, is because I know nobody is going to see it.
That's very good. That's a very good assumption. Thank you. Appreciate it, Patrick.
My pleasure.
We'll drop Patrick, bring back Joel in. Final topic of the day. Yesterday in Major League Baseball, Marty, the Giants beat the Rockies 23-5. And a guy you don't really know who he is, Alex Dickerson, hit 3 home runs yesterday for the Giants, had 2 doubles, broke Willie Mays' record. I mean, 23-5, that was like an NBA score when somebody scores over 150. You just never see that.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you see a 20 score, that's crazy. But sucks you can't carry him over to the next game.
So LSU baseball back in 1997, the year that they set the NCAA record for 188 home runs, won their 4th national championship in 6 years back then. They played Alabama over in Tuscaloosa and had to win, I think, just 1 game that series or something like that. And they play that Saturday. It's the second game of the series. They get beat 28-2. 28-2. Doug Thompson, one of our good friends of our show and a great pitcher at LSU, got knocked out early. Second game, I think it was like 8-1 or something when he got knocked out of the game. And LSU came back the next day, beat Alabama, won the SEC championship, dogpiled on their field in Tuscaloosa. And oh, by the way, Doug Thompson came out of the bullpen and pitched like 4 or 5 innings in relief. You would never see that in the Pulmonary era, a starting pitcher on Saturday come in on Sunday in relief. But Skip Bertman wasn't worried about your long-term health. Let's just win, baby.
Just win the championship.
But I mean, it just goes to show you in baseball, there's no carryover from one day to the next. It's just absolutely unbelievable. Marty, tell the folks how they can hear you and come see you during the week with Jimmy Ott's game night. Of course, we know you work late every night.
Yeah, it's game time. It's Jimmy Ott's Game Time on Facebook, Game Time 1045 on Twitter, Jimmy Ott's Game Time on Instagram, and go ahead and follow me on Twitter at MartinBlack20. And we'll be at City Slice tonight.
City Slice over by LSU tonight for Game Time, although
City Slice.
Although I do think it should be game night. I like that one better. But Joel, go by Woodenhaven Furniture Company in Baton Rouge and check out Go Joel on Government Street. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. Sports Shorts presented by LeBair's Casino. And don't forget, the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame auction is live right now. It ends Monday night at 8 o'clock. Go to lasportshall.com. Benefits a great cause. Have a good one, everybody.